friends. Welcome to Flosstube and variety show number 97. I had to check the number. Today is November 10th, 2023. It's my brother's birthday, in case he happens to be watching. Happy birthday, Douglas. And I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Thanks for joining me. Thanks especially to any who are new viewers. I, oddly, occasionally am recommended my own videos by YouTube, which makes me think that perhaps some of you are recommended my videos and you've come today for that, because of that, which I'm thrilled about. Thanks for coming, and I hope you'll find something of interest. Flosstube is cross-stitch, and variety show is something else. And today I really do have something else. I mean, really, it's not just me talking about my travels. I have a table here with something else's on it that hopefully will be of interest. So, cross-stitch. You know, I feel as if it's winding down to the end of the year, and in a way, it really is for me, because in December, starting in December 1st, I'm going to be working on the holiday countdown, I think it's called, by Modern Folk Embroidery and Evertote and Roxy Floss Co., which I have that box upstairs, the box that has already arrived that has the envelopes labeled December 1st through 25th, I think. And I did it last year. It was enjoyable, interesting. I sent them a bunch of comments that I imagine, I mean, I'm nobody to them, but I thought they were worth considering. I did mostly enjoy it last year, so I'm hoping to enjoy it even more this year. But anyway, that is an explanation of why November feels like the end of the year. And once we get into the holidays, I won't be making a weekly video, and, you know, things just change for all of us, I imagine. So, but this is still normal. I do feel as if I'm sort of trying to get a lot of things finished, and I got this finished. I made it into I finished stitching it. I might have finished stitching it last time, and I actually constructed it. I decided to put the linen on the bottom, and I put the pins in it that we received as part of the Great British Sampler weekend. And so I posted a picture of this on Instagram the other day when I finished it, and I realized that when I put the pins in it, they completely slid around inside. So I've opened the seam again and put some more filling in it. And I still have a little more filling in the bottle that we were provided, but it's really hard to get it in anymore. So this is completely, all of the filling in here is walnut shells, crushed walnut shells. I think that in future I might, I don't know, people use combination of things, and I'm not sure how they do that, how they pack it in and so forth, but anyway. So that's a finish, kind of, but it's only half of the projects that we were given at the retreat, and so I plan to do the Robson sampler, and I'm going to start it soon. I mean, possibly this week, though more about this week in a bit. But that was a lot of fun to work on. I just realized I'm not well set up here. One moment. Because I have this table full of stuff that is not cross-stitch, I don't have a place to put the cross-stitch. So as you recall, I was working on this. Now this is technically a Nativity Sal hashtag project, and it should be worked on the third weekend of every month, but I got excited, and so I accelerated it, and I finished it. Now, I really love 99% of it. This is on 40 count Winter Brew by whoever makes Winter Brew. And this thread is called Cheeky by Roxy Flosco. And I got it in a pack of red, a combination pack of red threads that I got from them one time this year. And I do like this almost 100%, except I do not like the letter T and the word to. To me, it looks like an F. And I know it's a font because I've seen that shape of T in other things. In fact, it might be in something else I'm working on. But I may take the top part of that T out, just that one stitch that goes sideways, and make it go straight up. I might do that. Am I in the middle of something there? Yeah, I am, but I could do it. Here's the back. I know. I don't usually show backs. I don't like the judgment that is often rendered to backs, and especially full coverage pieces. And so I don't want to participate in that, but I don't know why I showed you. I should cut that out, but you know I'm not going to. Okay, so I finished something. Now it is a Christmas piece, and so technically I should be replacing it with another Christmas piece, and I will. I think I'm going to replace it actually with something. I've mentioned it before, but I'm beginning to worry that somebody might be watching my video, so I won't say it. But I did start this. This, as you remember, came in that lovely box. This is the little book of English samplers, and I was working on the math of trying to figure out how to make it all lay out onto a fat quarter of 32 count. So I did a lot of math, and then I eventually cut out pieces of paper that were the size of the pieces and laid them out to be sure that there was space, and there's enough space. I won't say plenty, but there is enough. So I started the cover. And you see here, I have the four-sided stitch. I'm not sure I'm really doing that right, but I think it accomplishes what it's supposed to accomplish, which is to make little holes that are useful for attaching the pages. And I went ahead and started this, and I trust this one, that it is right. So this is the back of the book. Here's the spine, and here's where the front of the book will go. And I believe that that is laid out correctly, but in the rest of the pages, I'm just not sure. And so I may have to do a little mock-up with fabric at some point to see something I can, well, maybe I can do it with paper. It'd be easier with paper, that I can easily see. And what I did in terms of making sure everything fits is for this part of it. So here's the cover section. And I don't even know if you can see because I used subtle colors of thread, but I marked the corners of where the next pages will start and finish. It was just sort of a guide to me to be sure that I was not overrunning the space. So this is, the cover, so it's really hard to show this in terms of its as a whole, because each of the pages has its own pattern right below it in the book. So I'll just show you this much. This is the cover, and the front cover is here and the back cover is here. So I'm working on the back cover. I've covered the pattern, but that's how the book is laid out throughout. So I really can't show you. Well, I can show you the front of it, which shows some of the inside pages. Now it happens that there are altogether, including the two cover images, 12 pages in this. So I'm thinking maybe I sort of aim to do one a month. Some of them have quite a bit more stitching than others, so that might not work. But I might get really fast on some of them. For instance, the very cover, it just says a little book of English samplers or something, has very little on it, and that would stitch up very quickly. It's mostly letters and one image. She does say in the book, of course, this is her own. She created this for herself to represent the kinds of English samplers that she enjoys and knows about. And this right here is a spot motif example made up of images that she either has charted herself or has found in samplers. And she says, of course, you can use the things that matter to you. So if you want to use different images, by all means. And I think I might use different images for some of these. For instance, I'm not really real interested in the caterpillar. And if I were going to put a rabbit, I'm not sure I would do that one. Some of the others have quite a bit of back stitching, and to me, they represent later era images than the samplers that I found myself drawn to. So I don't know. This one also has those trees on either side of the house are, what's it called? Are buttonhole bars. They're sort of three-dimensional. And I'm not sure about that either. I might not do it that way. I might just cross-stitch them. But anyway, that started. Now, lest you worry that I'm neglecting all my other things, I have worked on some of the other things. Here's Winter Rose Manor. This is With Thy Needle and Thread, designed by Brenda Gervais, of course. And the main thing I did was to finish the cherry border. It is under the house and then up the side. So I hadn't done any of the up the side part, so I did that. And I also, because I had the color on my needle, I went ahead and started the next border, which is these diamonds. They're a little hard to see here, but they fill in this part. And they are solid stitched. Each diamond is solid stitched, but, you know, I like that. And I also began to stitch the, can't really see that. A lot about this, I'm afraid you can't really see. The stems for the flowers that are going to come out of the big basket on top of the house. And once I've finished this, I'm going to go ahead and tell my husband that we need to get the basket on top of our house, you know, filled with flowers, because of course we have one, right? We all do. I also worked on, because it was the first weekend of the month last weekend, I'm trying to think if that was true, Mighty Acorn by Blackbird Designs. It's in the book Winds of Autumn. And what did I do? I did a tiny bit more here. I finished the tree and I started in on the words, and I might have done some other things, little bits. Here's where I am. I'm doing it in the called for weeks, I think it is, on 18 count Saltbush by Fox and Rabbit. Now, if I didn't say this, I don't think anyone would ever know, ever. But I'm going to say it, just because when I hear other Flosstubers say this kind of thing, it gives me some encouragement. So I actually made a mistake in counting of this part of the branch of this tree. It's off, it's not long enough by one stitch. So one of these horizontal things was supposed to be one more stitch. And what happens under here is there's a house, and then there's a bird that sits on top of the chimney over on this side. And here's what I decided. I'm not ripping it out, because trees are not any particular way. I mean, maybe when I stitched the tree, the breeze was blowing slightly, so it foreshortened that little tiny branch. It won't matter. The distance between the bird and the tree won't look like a gap that was unplanned. So that is what I'm doing. And one of the reasons I went ahead and stitched the words is because I decided I need to be sure I'm basing the words off of the border on this side rather than off of the tree. And so I went ahead and started on the words. And I think this is nice. I think this will be nice. It's pretty subtle, the words, the color of the words, but that's all right. And I'm going to show you Mathilde, which is from Letters from Europe. This is in the exclusive red box by Hands Across the Sea that that Nicola Parkman put out this spring, which I got one sort of secondarily. A person bought one. Once she had opened it, she decided that didn't really trip her triggers the way she had hoped it would. And so she mentioned to another person that she was interested in selling it, and that person, my friend Leslie, put us in touch with each other. But my goal is this is a definite goal, to finish this year. And to that end, I finished this thing down there, and I began to work on this one, so I'm working from this side over. And the reason I'm doing that, I was considering just carrying on from this direction, but I made a mistake in this, and it's just easier to move from this side to that side. It doesn't matter at all. There are some other mistakes in here. Shock. Yes, there are. This is 103 silk on 20 count, Just the Ticket by Tabby Cat. So I just have, I think, 3 more border pieces to finish, which includes that one that started. I think that's correct. So that is exciting to be close to a finish on that. When I'm done, I'll have this much Just the Ticket 20 count Aida left, which I'm sure I can do another piece on. Now, what happened this past week is that I got the bug to start things, and I have another Christmas piece I'm going to do that I want to finish before Christmas. But for my birthday this year, I think that's when it was, Leslie gave me these 2 little patterns. They're from a series called Fragments in Time by Summer House Stitchworks, and I'm pretty sure that Summer House Stitchworks has put out another set. These are from 2022. I think there's a set from 2023 because someone on Flosstube mentioned it. And this is like a miniature little sampler. It has sampler elements to it. The thing it doesn't have is a house, but it has a bird, it has a couple of trees, it has a pasture with sheep, it has doodads, it has a heart. I think I'm going to stitch this. I think that'll be sometime soon. It even feels a little Christmassy to me, maybe because the tree has what appears to be white stitches in it, which might be snow. Let's just see. It's charted for DMC and weeks. And, you know, I may have some of these weeks ones, oddly. Oh, and there's even a couple of Algerian eyelets, so I guess I should plan to do it on linen. That's this one. This one also has Algerian eyelets. That's very pretty. This one, I can imagine doing it in different colors. I think it's charted for the same colors or similar set of colors that are in this one. And maybe the design of the series, the Fragments in Time series, is that they all use the same colors. So you buy one skein of each of those colors and you can do several projects. But anyway, I think that's kind of fun. I'll probably start one of those soon. So the other oh yes, another start idea is, well, I want to start something from the other red box. But, yeah, that's right, I keep saying that. And then I keep reminding myself I'm going to wait till I finish Mathilde. So that might not be till next year when I start that as yet undecided project. Okay, so what in the world, Emily, do you have over on the table that's right here? So what I have here, what I thought I'd talk about in the variety show portion of our program today, is party games, or games that can be played with a large number of people, or a larger number of people than a lot of board games can. In my experience, most board games have a sweet spot where they are best played with 3 to 5 players. But if you have more than 5 players, then what do you do? So there are some things. Here's some ideas. This I've mentioned before, fill or bust. The great thing, not only can this be played with an awful lot of players, it says 2 or more players. It has a sweet spot, I would say, but you can play it with many, many players. But not only can it be played with many players, but you can join late. So if somebody comes late and the group is already playing, they can just sit down. They are not really at a disadvantage. So that's one that I've mentioned before. I think I've mentioned this game before. I don't have it in its original box. I just have it in a card box. But this is the game Chronology. And I happen to have Chronology and Chronology Junior. And though they are sort of aimed at different age groups, they are not, the junior one is not easier necessarily. So the way this game works is you have a card. I've shown this before maybe. The cards look like this. They have a year on them, which is the year that the event that's described in the card. And so this, for instance, is the event that's 1939. The Wechsler scale to measure intelligence was first used in this year. Both the Wechsler and Stanford Binet tests are still used today. So what year was that? 1939. But you don't have to know the year. You just have to know when it occurred relative to something else. So if you have that card in your pile and the next card you were presented with was this one, you wouldn't be told the year. One of the earliest patents for the barbed enclosure or barbed wire was issued to Lucian B. Smith in this year. And you would have to say only, is it before or after the card that I already have in my timeline? And then you build your timeline up, and the winner is the person who first gets 10 cards in their timeline. And this game has recently come out as a weekly feature in the New York Times Games Suite, it's a free game, and it's called Flashback, I believe. And there your goal is to place 8 historic events in timeline with each other. So it's kind of interesting that that got picked up in that way. And I recommend it. It's very fun. And you don't have to be an expert in anything. You just have to have some maybe critical reading. You have to think carefully about what you've heard. Like sometimes these cards will talk about colonial, and sometimes they talk about state. And so you have to know, well, there's a demarcation because before 1789, say, or maybe 1776, someplace in there, the colonies were colonies, and then they became states in terms of United States events. Also, there are a lot of questions in there about amendments to the Constitution. This is primarily, I would say, that there's a lot of a USA focus to it, but it's not exclusively that. And it's not exclusively, it's quite broad in its time period. You know, you get asked questions about Sanskrit and the pyramids, as well as about things that are more recent. But of course, the game was published maybe 15 years ago, so not hugely recent. Another game that a lot of people like that's quite current is this game, Code Names. And so in this game, you play it as teams, and you need at least 2 players, it says. 4 players, I would say, yeah. And you lay out a grid of words, and the goal is that you are trying to get your teammates to guess certain words, to identify certain words as part of your group of words that your team is supposed to guess, whereas the other team is supposed to guess different words. And if you guess the other team's word, they get it, and vice versa. And if you guess the spy, then you lose. And the way the game is played, you lay out cards which are just have words or phrases on them. The examples I give here are code, dog, honey, helicopter, fire. In a grid, a 5x5 grid. And then if I'm the leader of my team for this round, I look at the grid and I can say a word and a number. And the word should be a clue to my teammates of what category I'm thinking of the words that are displayed. And the number is the number of cards I believe are part of that category that they could potentially identify. So I might look at the layout of the table and say fish 3. And they're going to look at the words and decide which 3 cards do I mean. And this game is like the game the New York Times has recently put out, another free game called Connections. That one is a 4x4, and you're trying to get 4 groups of 4 words that are of different categories without knowing what the categories are. And I will say, I don't like Connections because it seems too much like a read my mind kind of game, which to me isn't fun. And I don't love code words, but many, many people do. So I can't not mention it. In fact, it was a nominee for the Spiel des Jahres in 2016. So clearly it had and has a following. And the group of people that I play games with enjoys it. So there, I mean, I play it. I even suggest it as a game if I'm in charge because I know that others enjoy it. Now, this is a game that is out of print, but I just checked. It is available. The game is called What? It's What Party Game. And this is for 5 or more players, it says. I guess that would be right. It's been a while since we've played it, but the way this works is one person is the questioner, and I think the questioner can take part. So the goal of the game is to guess who gave which answer to these questions. And then you play it in different rounds, and you draw a card, and you ask the question that's on the card, and then people write down what their answer is, and then that's right, I guess the questioner doesn't participate when it's their turn to be the questioner. They are not an answerer either also. Anyway, so the kinds of questions are, what self-help book is probably not destined to become a bestseller? And you're not looking for a factual answer. You're looking for a clever answer. So, I mean, it's possible that the book Getting Things Done by David Allen is a legitimate answer to that question. It won't become a bestseller, but it's better if you can make up something like, how to grow your own earthworms for bass fishing in 3 easy steps or something, in your apartment. I don't know. Your group will determine some of what kinds of answers you give, but it's supposed to be clever and it's supposed to lead to funny. It says, what a party, what a laugh, what a thing to say, what a game. So the next question would be, what were the first words blank ever spoke? And the blank is to be filled in with a name. Now, it could be a name of someone you're playing with. If you know each other well, you could do that. Or you could name a celebrity. What are the first words George Washington ever spoke? And then everybody writes down their answer to that, and then you try to guess who said what, who gave which answer. And then the final one is more a situational game, and situational question, you're going to answer the question, what do you do? So the question is, your friend has an important job interview and needs a haircut. You offer to give him a trim with your new clippers, but accidentally shave a bald spot in the back of his head. What do you do? And so you're supposed to answer that question. Again, it's supposed to be clever. It's not supposed to be ethical necessarily, although some ethical things are clever. But that's a party game. We've played that. I mean, these party games, I will say, most of them, you might play them with a group 2 or 3 times, and then people are ready to move on, so you set it aside. So it's been a few years since we've played that. I'll bet we could pull it out now, and our group would enjoy it. Another game that is that exact type of game is this game, Mad Gab. We have played this. The last time we played it, and possibly, was when my son graduated from high school. We had 2 graduation parties for him. Were they successive nights? I think they were. One was with his friends, he and his friends, and Byron and I, and my brother was here as well. We ate dinner with everybody, but then they played poker or something for their after dinner entertainment. And the next night was our friends, i.e. adults who had watched him grow up. And so it was the grown-up party. And Scott, was not required to participate in the entertainment portion of that evening. He did eat with us, but he chose to, and we played Mad Gab. And so this one, you get a card that has words on it that are nonsense, or they're not nonsense, but they don't make sense together. But if you are the person who is trying to get your team to, I don't remember how this works team-wise, but anyway, I am saying this out loud. Hell owed Ollie. Hell owed Ollie. And my team is trying to get me to, that's right, my team is trying to get me to say it in such a way that I get what phrase it really is, or word. Hell owed Ollie. And of course, the more clueless the person reading the card is, the more funny it is that in the group, and possibly alcohol would enhance that. But hell owed Ollie, when you say it out loud, if you're not looking at it, you probably already know it means hello Dolly. And here's another one. Go tan hatch heck. Go tan hatch heck. And so my teammates might say things like, put the first two words together, go tan. And then they might say, well, make that O less O, and you know, they can't use sounds, but more like, I don't know, flatten it out more. Got to hat check. I don't know what that is. Oh, coat and hat check. So I was wrong. I didn't know what it was. Goat and hatch heck. Got coat and hat check. So you see, you can probably glimpse why that might be funny. And so we have played that and had a lot of hilarity connected with that. Here's a game. This is a card game version of a game that actually goes by a lot of different names. This is Lynch Mob, and you play a role that your card tells you what it is. In this one, you're the marshal, a criminal, or an honest citizen, and you're trying to figure out who's criminal, I think. That also goes by, there's something similar called Mafia, which you don't need props for. Maybe you need a deck of cards, so the person who gets the King of Spades is the Godfather or something. I don't know for sure. But other party games don't require a published thing to play. They just get played. And we like the game Celebrity Bowl. I brought out this bowl from my kitchen cabinet to remind me to mention this game. It goes by other names, and there are other versions of it. We like the most simple version. So you have a bowl like this, and everybody gets, say, 3 pieces of paper. That's usually enough. And you would want to play, most of these games, you would want to play them with, 9 or so people, 8 or 9 people, 7 to 25 people. But you can play this game truly with any number of people. The more people you have, maybe you only give them 3 pieces of paper. They should all be similar pieces of paper. And you write on each piece the name of a celebrity. And it can be a local celebrity. It can be, if you're playing with your youth group, then you might put the youth leader's name, could be one of them. Or it can be a famous, world or nationally famous celebrity, living or dead. And so you could put George Washington, you could put Patrick Stewart, and it can also be fictional. So you could put Anne of Green Gables, which her last name was Shirley, Anne Shirley, or something. And then you mix it all up, and then you have teams. Usually these games seem to devolve into boys against girls. I don't really like that. I would rather it were mixed, but whatever works for your group. And the person, there's a timer, a 1-minute timer somebody's keeping track of with the the advent of smartphones, this is very easy. And you say go, and then you pick up this up, you open it up, and you have to get your teammates to say who it is. And you can't say their name, obviously. So I could say, this was the captain of the Starship Enterprise in, and then as soon as they say, I might say Jean-Luc Picard, and then I'll say the actor, Patrick Stewart. I put that down, and I keep going. And I can pass. If I pass, can I pass only one? I can't remember how that works. It could vary with your group. Doesn't really matter. The detail of that doesn't matter. But the idea is if I get my team to say 5 different ones, then we get 5 points, and then it goes to the other team. It's 2 teams against each other, and whoever is giving the clues passes around also. And since you're all putting clues in, you could find the person whose name you put in, the celebrity you put in. And so that means at least you know that one. Sometimes I look at this and say, I would say often, I look at it, I have no idea who this person is. But then I'll say, okay, his first name is the same as the first name of our 3rd president. And and so Thomas, somebody says. It is Thomas Jefferson, I believe, isn't it? Yes, I think so. And then, and his last name is, and so you can get it that way. You don't have to really know who it is, which is good because popular culture is not my forte, which is actually, should be pronounced fort, but that's all right. And then the final party game I will mention is, I pulled out my dictionary, not because the dictionary itself is what the game is called, but because it's called the dictionary game. We call the dictionary game. There's a published version, which I can't remember what it's called. It might come to me, but I've mentioned this before too, I think, but the idea is you get a dictionary, and whoever's turn it is, everybody is supplied with identical pieces of paper. It's handy to have a tablet of paper that you tear pages off of. We use the little 3x5 tablets that you can get in a big stack at office supply stores. And everybody has identical paper. It's important that it be identical and the same kind of writing implement that doesn't bleed through. And then whoever turn it is to be the dictionary master opens a dictionary and finds a word that they think no one knows. And so I might find the word, I'm probably not in a good place. Well, here's one, horologe. So I just say horologe and I spell it. And then everybody writes on their paper the word, and then everyone writes a definition for it. And then they fold their paper in half and they hand it to the person. And the person also writes the real definition, which I just closed the dictionary. So we're never going to know what that word really means. And also makes up a definition. So in the end, if there's 7 people playing, there are going to be 8 pieces of paper. The real definition, the made-up definition of the person who selected the word, and the other player's definitions. And then the person reads them out loud twice. You read them once, and then you read them again, and then people vote. I think that's the right one, the correct one. You get a point if people guess your wrong definition, and you get a point if you guess the right definition. And it's just and then that passes around. The next person takes the dictionary and pages through it to find a word they think people don't know. And there have been some funny episodes when we've played this. We used to play it on New Year's Eve with friends, and it was very fun. All of these games I have played, and other than code names, which other people love and I just don't happen to love, they're all fun and can be sources of a lot of laughter, which is the point of party games, I think. I think that the goal of a party game is that people who are not really game players can enjoy playing, that there's a lot of participation, that nobody is left out just by the mechanics of the game. Ideally, you don't have to wait a long time until it's your turn. So party games usually have a lot of simultaneous thing to them, which makes fill or bust, which is why I think there is a sweet spot for fill or bust of maybe 6 players, because otherwise it's a while before it's your turn. But whoever is running that game can keep people engaged by the magnetism of their personality, keep people connected to the game and to each other. So that is what I have to say about that. Now, I put in the description field below this video the names of these games that I've mentioned and the publisher of the version that I have. And I did look, I think Mad Gab is still in print, possibly in a different edition than the one I showed. What is, I think, not in print, but it can be, you can get it, and not even exorbitant prices. I'm not sure about Lynch Mob. Actually, I didn't look that up. I may revisit my notes just to be sure. But you don't really need Lynch Mob as a set of cards. You just need to maybe Google how to play Mafia, and it's the same idea. There are many other party games out there. There really are. And you can Google them or search on Amazon. BoardGameGeek.com is a good place to look for games by category. So there's ways to find even more than I have mentioned, and better lists than I've mentioned, I'm sure. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I hope to be back next week for a video. I will say that I'm going to be out of town Sunday visiting our son and daughter-in-law all day. I'm going to be out most of the day on Thursday, and then I have something in the evening also. So those are 2 full days that I will get little cross-stitching done. So I might not have a ton of cross-stitch to show, but I'll make a video anyway, and we'll see what the variety show portion has, or if I surprise myself and get a lot of things done. So that's all I think for now. Thanks so much for joining me, and many blessings to you, friends.